Thank you for joining us, everybody, for 1099 filing updates with Nelco and Rentec. Let's go ahead and take a look at our agenda. We'll do some brief introductions. We'll talk through some 1099 basics, talk through form changes to 1099s. Specifically this year, the 1099 EC is probably the big thing that we're going to probably spend most of our time talking about when we start thinking about 1099s. If you guys haven't heard about the 1099 NEC, we will get you all the information that you need. If you have heard of it, hopefully we'll get you a little bit of additional information about it. And then we'll do a quick walkthrough of Nelco's products, and we'll wrap up and leave plenty of time for Q&A at the end. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to enter them into the questions box of GoToWebinar. Happy to answer those. I will probably wait until the end to get those answered, but if you have a burning question that you just have to get answered and you don't want to forget it, go ahead and stick it in there, and we will do our best to get to it. So I am Jason Jennison. I am the Partner Relationship Manager here at Nelco. Here at Nelco, if you guys don't know who we are, at Nelco we think about year-end reporting year-round. You guys probably start thinking about 1099s starting now, somewhere in there and kind of through the end of January. Here at Nelco, when we finish 1099s for 2020 coming up in the spring, we will immediately start looking forward to 2021 and trying to make sure that our products are still working well in terms of filing with the IRS and any applicable states, making sure they're working with our software our partners. Rentec here has been a great partner of ours with the system over the years. And then obviously making sure that our systems are easy to use, functioning well, and you guys have a good experience interacting with them. Also on the line, I do have Catherine from Rentec. I didn't tell her I was going to intro her, so but I do have Catherine on the line with us. She is going to be here to assist any additional Rentec questions that we have, things that are specific to the software, and I appreciate her flexibility again with the reschedule. So let's go ahead and get started with 1099s. So really quick, we are going to go through some really 1099 basics here. And I apologize if this is a little bit low or high level, a little bit simplistic, oversimplified terms. A variety of different people, different knowledge, skill sets of 1099s on the call today. So just trying to make sure that we're all on the same page about what 1099 form is. And so Form 1099 is used to report a number of different types of information, including taxable income. That's usually what we think about as taxable income to the Internal Revenue Service. I should mention that 1099 is also there to report that income and information to states and also the recipients, the vendors or the owners in your guys' case. So the 1099 form is a method for communicating that information in an official manner. And depending on what type of information reported, there's a specific form. So there's a 1099 miscellaneous for, you guessed it, miscellaneous expenses. 1099 NEC, non-employee compensation, that's what we're going to be talking about today. And then there's like Form 1099-R for distribution from pensions and annuities. There's 1099 interest form, maybe you get interest from an interest-bearing bank account. A dividend form for dividends, you guys get the idea. But basically, Form 1099 is a way to report this income for people, the income that you paid out to people that weren't your employees. A W-2 is what you get from your employer. But if you have an individual who is not your employee, but you still paid them taxable income, the way to report that to the IRS is a Form 1099. So who needs to file? Form 1099 has to be filed by an individual or entity that has paid out $600 or more in rents or services performed for a trade or business by people not treated as its employees. Again, employees are paid on Form W-2, but a 1099 is for other people. $600 or more in rents or services is the magic number there. There's a few additional ones, paid at least $10 in royalties or broker payments, or if you withheld the federal income tax under backup withholding rule. But that paid out $600 or more in rents or services performed by trade or business is the big one. That's what's going to cause most of you guys to need to file Form 1099. So when don't you need to file? You obviously don't need to file if the amount paid is less than $600. If the payment is made to a corporation, you do not need to file a 1099. Or if the payment is made for the purchase of goods instead of services. So again, this is for people that are not your employees that performed a service for you. This isn't something you report for something that you bought things for, goods in a way. It's services rendered. And again, if this individual that did this is a corporation, you do not need to send a 1099 for them. Big question there also comes, what about LLCs? Generally speaking, LLCs need to have 1099s filed for them. There is an exception if they are taxed as a corporation. There's a specific form, I believe it's 8838 with the IRS they need to fill out. So if you have an LLC that you are paying out to, you need to know whether they are taxed as a corporation or as an individual. So when in doubt, we always like to say send a 1099. But if you know that they are an LLC who does not, or is taxed as a corporation, and you're certain of that, then don't worry about sending the 1099 to them. So really quick, I'm not going to dwell on this for too long, penalties for late or non-filing. So basically, if you do not file 1099s by the due date, you are liable for some penalties. The penalties is going to depend on when you file them. So if you find yourself after the form deadline, February 1st is the deadline this year because January 31st falls on a Sunday. If you find yourself after that form deadline, the best thing you can do is go ahead and get those filed immediately. Get them done, because the longer you wait, the larger that fine goes up. Like I said, I'm not going to go through every single one of these numbers. Just know if you find yourself after it, get it done. Nelco system, I should also mention, after the deadline, it still functions the same way as it does before the deadline. So if you are working and you need to file your 1099s through Nelco, just go ahead and get those done. Our system will get them shipped out and electronically filed. So make sure to go ahead and do that, and we will get those done for you. Again, the sooner the better. If the IRS wants to levy a fine against you, they will let you know. There is no need to proactively go out and pay a fine to the IRS. Just wait for that letter. I know it can be feeling like impending doom, but go ahead and get them done. One thing I know a lot of people say is that, well, if I file them late, then the IRS is going to know that I didn't do these, and then I'm going to get fined for being late. If I don't file them at all, the IRS will never know. You might be right. Not a chance I'd be willing to take, mostly because that last penalty down there for intentional disregard is for $560 per 1099 not filed. Basically, if you don't file it, you are doubling, tripling, 10-timing your chance or 10xing your penalty. So get those done, get them done in time. So let's talk through some changes for W-2s and 1099s. So number one, 1099 miscellaneous. That's a form that most of you have been filing for years, but 1099 miscellaneous has removed the non-employee compensation field, and it has renumbered several of the other boxes. And so what happened to non-employee compensation in 1099 miscellaneous? So glad you asked. We have a new form, the 1099 NEC. Technically, it is not a new form. It was a form that was around in the 70s, I believe in the early 80s. The IRS moved the information to the miscellaneous form. However, it is back. And that is where box 7 from the 1099 miscellaneous last year will be reported in box 1 on form 1099 NEC. So there's the 2019 1099 miscellaneous. That box 7, that's that problem child number 7, non-employee compensation. This year, it has been moved to box 1 of that 1099 NEC form. NEC stands for non-employee compensation. Pretty straightforward. You'll see also the payer's name, recipient's name, payer's TIN, all that other information came over almost verbatim from the 1099 miscellaneous. But really the only large box that's going to be filled out in terms of amounts is going to be box 1, non-employee compensation. And again, if you just take the information from box 7 last year on the 1099 miscellaneous and put it in box 1 of the 2020 miscellaneous or NEC form, you're going to be good to go. It seems really scary and complicated, but really it's pretty straightforward. Just go ahead and, like I said, if you had information in box 7 last year, this year you're going to report that information in box 1 of the NEC. So a few fun facts about the NEC. Number one, 70% of the 1099 miscellaneous are expected to be the NEC this year. I also kind of joke that the IRS, when you have 70% of your people filling out a form called miscellaneous, and there's 70% of them are going into one box probably deserves its own form. So they did so. Lots of reasonings for it. That's probably not actually one of them. However, box 7, again, was filled out by about 70% of the miscellaneous forms the IRS received last year. My internal straw poll when I'm talking to people puts that number closer to 80%, 90% of the businesses that Nelco works with. So all that to say, pretty certain if you have filed 1099 miscellaneous last year, good chance you're going to be filing the 1099 NEC this year. Again, the due date to the IRS and the recipients is February 1st, 2021. Usually it's going to be January 31st, but January 31st this year falls on a Sunday, so you will need to get these done by February 1st. We are expecting most states that required the 1099 miscellaneous to also require the NEC. There's a few states that are not. Mostly those states didn't require box 7 information. However, we are expecting that most of the states that require that, again, on the miscellaneous, will require it on the NEC form as well. And finally, kind of an edge case here, but you may be required to file both a miscellaneous and an NEC. And the way that happens is that if last year you found yourself filling in box 1 for rents and also box 7 for non-employee compensation for a recipient, again, not a terribly common thing, but if you found that to be the case, then this year, box 1, rents, would still be reported on the 1099 miscellaneous under box 1. And what was box 7 last year, the non-employee compensation, will now be reported as the 1099 NEC box 1. So you'll need to do 2 separate forms there. And so just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware. In the case that happened, you might have a double filing obligation for your recipient. So really quick, obviously you remove box 7 and the form 1099 miscellaneous changes quite a bit. Very few of these fields are ones that most people we talk to are commonly using. Quite frankly, I'm not even 100% sure most of these are going to be filled in by your Rentec software. So we're just going to go ahead and go through these really quick. So basically box 9 last year becomes the new box 7. Box 10 becomes box 9. Box 14 becomes box 10. Box 15A becomes box 12. Box 15B becomes box 14. And then all the state information, they don't get moved at all or renamed. They just get renumbered to boxes 15, 16, and 17 now. So hope that's clear. Makes a lot of sense. However, if you would rather see it in a table format instead of a visual, here it is what happens to each of those boxes on the 1099 miscellaneous. So really quick, wanted to, before we head off to talking through Nelco's services, just wanted to check the questions. So give me just 1 second and I'll see if there's any questions that I can answer. Will we get a copy of the slides and a copy of this webinar? The answer is yes, absolutely. I will go ahead and put the PDFs of those slides in the attachments of this webinar after this is done. So you can have a copy of these slides and you don't have to scribble down and take notes. Sorry, should have mentioned that before. We'll also have a recording available. So that's going to be available as well to you. So thank you for that question. Great question. One other question came in, where do you put the rent on the 1099 NEC? Rent is not put on the 1099 NEC. Rent is still going to be put on that form 1099 miscellaneous. So box 1 from 2019 up here, box 1 for rents, is also going to be box 1 in the 2020 1099 miscellaneous. So we will want to make sure that that's rents are reported on 1099 miscellaneous, and non-employee compensation is reported on Form 1099 NEC.
Can I say something there, Jason? It's Catherine, by
Absolutely,
the way.
please.
Yeah, so Rentec is made sure that we designed it for, if you're using Nelco for your 1099 e-filing, that it's going to put it in the appropriate box. So we already know which ones are going to be NAC, which for most of you property managers would be all like your vendors that you've paid. And then your 1099 miscellaneous would be for your rents, which would be your owners, your owner gross rental income. So I just want to make sure, hopefully we answered that question for y'all.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Appreciate that. All right, so we are going to go ahead and move along to the demonstration of how Nelco's system works to file 1099s. And so we are going to go ahead and start this in the Rentec application. This is, I hope, a common screen, something that looks familiar to everybody. So basically, if you get to the end of your year and everything looks correct, you review your data, make sure that everything that's been paid out, again, is looking correct in Rentec. Come out here to Settings and come down to Utilities. And then you're looking for 1099, e-file, and print. And this is going to give you a list of all your vendors and owners. And as you can see, if there's some information that's missing, you're going to see it highlighted in red here. Now, for the purposes of this webinar today, I'm just going to go ahead and select the ones that we have already open and ready to go. That's a vendor of ABS Landscaping and Johnson Investments for an owner. And I'm going to click Continue Next Step. Maybe I'm going to find the missing information a little bit later. So we're just going to go ahead and continue with these two forms. We're going to click Next and then Continue to Nelco to initiate e-file. And basically what has just happened is that Rentec has gathered up all that 1099 information and sent it over to the Nelco portal. And so I'm actually going to switch over really quick to our test environment, simply because I don't want to actually file this information for the purpose of demonstrations to the IRS. But test environment, you'll see this. Everything else about this will be identical. You'll just see this red banner at the top as we walk through it, just walking through exactly what it's going to look like as we do the filing here. So if you've never logged in with us before, go ahead and click on Create Account. Create Account is going to ask you for some pretty basic information, first and last, address, city, state, zip, phone number. And then on the right, your email address and your password. We ask those things to be entered twice simply because those are going to be your login credentials for our site. So please make sure that those are accurate. Email address and a password that is easy to remember. One question that some people ask is, you know, if I have multiple different people that want to work on this, how should we do that? I would just say that whoever's email address is on here is going to be receiving status emails, and whoever is able to log in is going to be able to see all your information. So there isn't a way for us to give multiple access to multiple people. So just go ahead and choose either a email address that is common to everybody or a password that is common to people if you need to have multiple people working on this. But remember, anybody who has the email address and password will be able to go in and see your system or see your information. So because I am on a webinar and everybody's watching me, apparently I cannot type today. So give me 1 second here. All right, and the first place you are going to find yourself is called this Forms in Progress screen. Now, Forms in Progress, you'll see we have the company, Management World. This is our company. And then, as you can see, we brought in a 1099 miscellaneous and a 1099 NEC form. You have the federal filing, state filing, and recipient copy. And so you'll see the recipients of these forms listed here, and to the right, check marks next to whatever services we are going to be providing. And you can uncheck or recheck, And basically, wherever these check marks fall, that's the services that we will be performing for you. So if you choose federal e-filing, we will just be federal e-filing. If you choose state e-filing, we will send to any states that require filing. And then recipient mail, that's what we are going to print and mail your recipient copies directly out to your recipients. So all this, you don't need to worry about printing anything. You don't need to worry about paper filing anything. You should be good to go. These bundles up here are going to save you a few dollars, and it's just a bundle. One has state filing, one does not. So we're going to go ahead and leave the full bundle checked before we move forward. Now, really quick, I should also mention that a lot of people are wondering how much is this going to be, what's going to be the cost to use Nelco services, and we'll walk you through how to find that cost here towards the end. However, I would just say that up until this point, actually even a little bit after this, you don't need to worry about entering your credit card. This is all free, so you can feel free to set up an account and push your 1099s in here. And this subtotal right here is going to tell you exactly how much the cost is going to be. So feel free to do that, get to this point. If you don't want to proceed, just go ahead and click delete all forms and you're good. But if you get here and you want to continue to use the service, go ahead and click next. Now, there is on occasion some additional information we need to file to a state. In this case, the state of West Virginia requires this IT 103 form. Now, if there's any information that's required and we're missing, you will see that it will be popped up in a red box here. And there will be instructions, additional instructions. So, however, we are good to go with that information. We actually don't need to update it. It's just an additional step that information is there and needs to be filled out or reviewed. If you have email addresses for your vendors, you can go ahead and put them in here. They should have come over if they were in your Rentec system. However, you can adjust any email addresses for vendors. This is going to give your vendors, in addition to the printed copy we send to your vendors and owners, this will also send them an email where they can click a link, put in the last 4 digits of their SSN or EIN, and download an electronic copy of their 1099. This is in addition to us printing and mailing that copy out to them. Click next, and this is our cart page. So I mentioned before that there was 2 folks back here in the system. If for some reason I wanted to come back and do these right now, just make sure you get these people into the cart submit form screen. Now you could go ahead and transmit in those additional people at this point. If you wanted to stop here and come back, you can do so. If you want to preview your forms, go ahead and click preview. This is going to, sorry about that, folks. We are in the our testing site again, so we are working on that, and not sure why that didn't work. However, a preview form will give you a PDF of all of the forms, exactly what the forms are going to look like when we send them out. So feel free to take your time, review preview forms, and make sure that all the information is correct there. There's summary report. If you wanted a quick summary of exactly the information, compare it back to your Rentec software and make sure that all those totals match, you can download the summary report right there. And again, take your time reviewing those reports, make sure they're accurate, and this information will all stay right here until you come in and delete it or move forward. So we are going to go ahead and click next, and this will bring us to our checkout screen. Now again, if you've never filed with us before, you're going to need to enter a credit card, so go ahead and click add a card, and you will have the opportunity to put your credit card in. This is a good moment to mention that Nelco does not store your credit card information. This is stored at a secure third-party vendor. All we see is the last 4 digits. This is obviously for your security. And so if you ever need to edit anything, you can just click edit, and this actually goes out to a secure third party to work on your credit card. Now, if you don't have a credit card or if you want to be invoiced, we can do what's called a prepaid filing code. Prepaid filing code works just like a gift card. You put money on the prepaid filing code, and when you file, it takes money off of there. It's like 17 digits long. Talk to your Nelco rep, and we can get you a prepaid filing code if for some reason you don't have a credit card. Credit card's a little bit easier, won't lie to you, but say you put, $12 on a prepaid filing code, and you filed here, you'd have $1.37 left on that code. So again, just like a gift card, you put it on there, put money on, you take money off. We look good here, so we're going to go ahead and click Pay and Submit. Before we do this, I just want to say, Pay and Submit really is kind of that point of no return. So once you click Pay and Submit, we are really going to start filing these forms. We're going to start printing and mailing them. We're going to be doing our best to get them out the door quickly. We are working in an abbreviated time frame here in the month of January. So make sure that everything looks good before you click Pay and Submit, because once you click that, we are going to start working on them. We are good, so we're going to click Pay and Submit. And just like that, the congratulations screen comes up. We have successfully filed your returns. Break down exactly what we're doing. E-file these to the IRS. E-filing to South Carolina and West Virginia. We're going to mail these forms to the recipients. We're going to post these as online retrieval. That was the email functionality I was talking about before. If you want to save some of these PDFs, that is something I would recommend. You can click on Payer Copies and click More Info, and that will get you a PDF of the payer copy that you can save. Also, if you want to print this page or the receipt, that is available down here at the bottom as well. Now, once you get this filing done, you are going to be getting an email. Email will look something like this: 1099 e-file. Thank you for using 1099 e-file. It'll give you confirmation numbers, and it'll give you some instructions on checking the status of your forms. Now, every time we do this, when we send to the IRS, when we mail out the copies to your recipients, you will get an email to whatever email address you use to log in with regarding exactly what we're doing. It'll keep you updated the whole way. However, if you ever are wondering what exactly is going on with your forms, you can always come on out here and click Filing Home in the Rentec Nelco portal. Click on Form Filing History, find that submission, and click this little clock icon. Clock icon is going to break down exactly what is happening. So again, filing order has been confirmed, but it's not yet been sent to the agency. The recipient mailing order has been confirmed, but has not yet been complete. Again, this is our test site, so nothing's moving forward. However, in our production site, this will actually start going pretty quickly. A couple other fun things you can do at Form Filing History. If you want a PDF copy of this forms, or if you need to print another form, go ahead and click on this little printer icon. By the way, again, I do recommend saving a PDF copy. So if you want a payer copy, that's you, go ahead and click on Copy C and download, and it will provide a PDF of that 1099 that you can then save somewhere. If you want to print it and put a paper copy somewhere, you can do that as well. But this is going to give you a PDF that you can save and keep for your records. There it is. A few other fun things about form filing history. Also, if somebody lost their 1099, they need another copy, or say they didn't get it in the mail, you can print a copy that way. However, you can also go ahead and click on this fun little envelope icon, find ABS Landscaping, and ask ABS Landscaping what a good email address is for them. And if it's ABS Landscaping at yahoo.com, click Send Email, and they will get an email at that email address. Click the link, put in the last 4 digits of their SSN or EIN, and they'll be able to retrieve that 1099 that they are missing electronically. Saves you some hassle of printing one and providing a new one to them. It's a good way to send it electronically. Please do not email PDFs. It is not a secure way to do it. Email is not a secure method of doing that. So please, if you need to provide an electronic copy to someone, use this function. So that pretty much wraps up. Oh, one other quick thing. If you guys needed to file corrections, you can click Make Corrections right here, and our system will walk you through the 1099 correction process. So just be aware that if you do need to make some corrections, that service is available as well. One other common question as we wrap up here is people wondering the cost. Again, easiest way, set up an account, transmit your forms into Nelco, and you'll get a customized cost for whatever services you need right there. You can also come out here to how it works, scroll down, 1099 pricing, and cost is going to be broken down by number of forms you're filing. So most people are going to be in maybe one of these first two, maybe one of these first three tiers, and then also the services. So if you need us to just federal e-file, it's going to be less expensive than having us federal e-file and printing and mailing the recipient copies. So that is available right there as well. So with that, we are going to go back and let's look at some questions. If you guys don't mind me pausing here, I am going to gather up some of these questions, and give me just a second and I will be right back with you. Okay, question came in. For those folks that just have to send a 1099 to a corporate entity, can we just ignore it? Yes, you don't have to worry about anything. If the only 1099 that you are seeing you have to file is to a corporation, yes, you can just ignore it. You don't have to file any 1099s. So congratulations, get on with the life. Question came in, do I need to print or send a 1099 miscellaneous and an NEC if I already have a CPA doing my taxes? I would, number one, I would clarify with your CPA that they are filing your 1099s for you, and not just doing your taxes at the end of the year. That is something that I would definitely make sure you clarify that this is getting done. Number two, I would say even if they are getting it done, I would really, really, really look into how much it's costing you. I have seen CPAs charge $50 for every 1099 they file. Our program starts at $5. If you have all the information in Rentec, your CPA, and instead of taking that information, sending it to your CPA and having them file the 1099s, you can use Nelco services. And again, it starts at somewhere between $5 and $6. So highly recommend you to check in to how much your CPA is charging you to file these 1099s, and take a look at whether Rentec can save you some money by filing with Nelco. So that's a shameless plug for our services. But we have seen it. We have seen several people save a lot of money by simply doing it themselves. And as you can see from the process I just walked through, there's not a whole lot of information that you need to add. It's just kind of clicking a few buttons. So somebody asked, can we see one more time, how do we get 1099 filing in Rentec? Sure. So let's really quick. From Rentec, close this out. So if you're at the main screen, come out here to Settings, Utilities, 1099, e-file, and print. So hopefully that answers that question.
Jason, I have a question for you if I can interrupt real fast.
Yeah, please do.
Just to make sure that everybody is aware, if the deadline's on February 1st this year, how late can they submit through Nelco on that day?
So thank you for that question. Yes, you have until 8 p.m. on the filing deadline to 8 p.m. Eastern time, should we clarify that, to complete the filing through Nelco. So once you see that congratulations screen that we showed at the end, if you see that by 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, we will make sure that those meet that deadline, keep you from getting any of those nasty fines we talked about, and keep you on track. So yeah, 8 p.m. Eastern time on February 1st. Again, usually that's 8 p.m. on January 31st, but January 31st, when it falls on a Sunday or a weekend day, the IRS gives you an extra day. So I would also like to add, though, if you wait until those last 2 days, January 31st and February 1st, there is a surcharge. We try to keep open as late as we can, but doing so comes at a great cost to us. So there is a surcharge for filing on that last day. So I would recommend that you get it done by Friday, January 29th, if you want to avoid any additional fees.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, no, thank you. Okay, question comes in, are we required to file with the state and feds always, or can we just send to the owner? So no, you cannot just send to owner. You definitely need to file to the IRS. Just sending to the owner is not going to get the information done. You do need to file to the IRS. You may need to file to the state. Some states require it, some states do not. And so, but you definitely need to file to the IRS. So, yes, please make sure that you are getting those submissions to the appropriate agencies and not just to sending out a recipient copy. Question came in, contractors provided a signed 1099 already. How do I use you? Not 100% sure. If they're a contractor of yours and you're paying them, you would be providing a 1099 to them, not the other way around. So I'm not 100% sure what that question is. Yeah, apologize. So a question came in, how do you file a 1096, or is that no longer necessary? So when you're electronically filing a 1099, you do not need to worry about filing a 1096. 1096 form is just a summary of everything that you're filing when you're filing via paper to the IRS, but we're electronically filing, so you don't need to worry about 1096. We have that taken care of. So a question came in, who sees Social Security numbers? How are the Social Security numbers protected? Great question. So a couple things. Number one, Social Security numbers are masked on recipient copies. And basically what that means is that when the recipient copy gets sent out via Nelco Services, the only thing that will be present are going to be the last 4 digits of that Social Security number. Now, when we send to the IRS, it's an electronic transmission, and that is the full Social Security number for obvious reasons, because the IRS needs to know what the full Social Security number is, whereas as the recipient, they reason that they already know what their Social Security number is, so we just show the last 4 digits for security. But Nelco does have a secure system here and a secure method of transmitting to the IRS. We have what's called Type 2 or SOC 2 Type 2 security, which basically means that here at Nelco, we have attained the highest level of security certification that we can find. And so we are good to go in terms of that. But again, in terms of mailed copies, actually nothing gets sent in the mail with a Social Security number on it. They are all masked. They have the last 4 digits. Do we need to file 1099s for our tenants? Probably not. Your tenants would possibly file a 1099 to you, to whoever they are paying rent to, provided you are not a corporation, and providing they are doing it for business use, not for personal use. 1099s are only filed for businesses. However, again, 1099s are sent from the person doing the paying to the person who received payment, and it is a way of communicating to the IRS that, hey, we paid these people. So for tenants, at least my understanding of the traditional tenant relationship, you would not be sending them a 1099 because you probably have not paid any rent to them. So here's a good one. I sent a W-9 to a vendor, but he doesn't return the form, so I don't have the EIN of this vendor. Folks, that is a tough one. So number one, what I will say, and I'll try to encourage you guys to do right now is don't cut people a check until they get you a W-9. That's just my general, and I know this is easier said than done. However, again, I wouldn't pay anybody without a W-9 on them, because inevitably what ends up happening is that you find yourself in the situation where you don't have a W-9, you don't have their EIN or SSN or any kind of those numbers, and you got to file a 1099 and you don't know what to do. Hound them and get that number. Get this done for your 1099s. You got it. This is required information when you're filing a 1099. So knock down a door if you have to. All right, 1 second. Sorry, getting these questions up. We do have a lot of questions, so I apologize if I don't get to any today. We will have one of our reps reach out to you with answering any questions. However, yes, I apologize again in advance if we don't get to any of your questions. Okay, so does Nelco, so a couple questions about states. First off, does Nelco know which states require 1099? Absolutely, yes. If I buy the bundle, would Nelco refund me the service if not required by the state? We wouldn't refund it. We refund you. We just wouldn't charge you in the first place. So Nelco system will look and say, okay, these 1099s need to be filed to these states, and these 1099s don't have a state filing, and you'll be charged the state price for those ones that need to be filed to the state, and you will be charged the non-state price for those that don't. So, yep, we're only going to charge you for the services that we actually provide. So if you have a vendor or an owner who does not require state filing, you will you won't be charged for that. Our system will calculate the price, and that's where, again, it could be easier for you to look at a quote by just importing your data and seeing how much it is, as opposed to trying to figure out that chart, because if you have some people who have state filings and some that don't, might be hard to count up and make some additions there. So that's where, again, I always just kind of say, easiest way to figure out how much Nelco services are going to cost is to actually put it in there and see over there on the left-hand side. So next question is, what's Nelco's phone number, email, if I have more questions? And I swear that was not a plant question, because my next slide right here has Nelco's contact information. We have individual account reps and account managers here ready to work with you on this. They are good folks. And 800-266-4669, Nelco@nelcosolutions.com. www.nelcosolutions.com. Actually, from there, you can also order checks that are going to be compatible with your Rentec software. So we have those checks available there as well. But there's also chat functionality if you have any questions about Nelco's products and services. So yes, that's going to be the best thing to go. As I mentioned before, you do have an account manager with Nelco. We are all of those teams are headquartered right here in the United States, and they are ready to go. We have a phone number right there, and that phone number it might put you in a brief queue waiting for people, but there is not like a tree where you need to press a ton of buttons. It will get you right through to our reps, small group of people that are really ready, willing, and able to assist you. So with that, it is almost 10:02, and I have been talking a lot, and you guys are probably tired of hearing me by now. So I'm just going to go ahead and wrap up and say thank you very much. Again, I apologize if we did not get to any of your questions. But I just want to say thank you to Rentec. Appreciate your guys' partnership. You guys work with an absolutely great software, by the way, one that we know and I've seen cares deeply about the success of their clients. So it is our privilege to work with them. With that, I am going to go ahead and wrap up, and thank you guys very much.